Alright friends, I'm about to enter Langata neighborhood. It is an estate here in Nairobi city. Right opposite is Langata barracks. I'm sure you can see the wall on my right. That's a military camp. I'll be getting to the neighborhood in a few seconds. It is on my left. And I think it is good to tell you in advance that it is a middle class neighborhood. And you know, in African standards, when you say that a neighborhood is for upper middle class, to most Africans, that's an average rich neighborhood. Apart from the barracks, the estate is also neighboring another weird neighborhood. I'm sure you have seen the title. Yes, that is the neighborhood for the dead. The biggest cemetery in Kenya is in the neighborhood. It also shares the same name with the estate, and so it goes by the name Langata. Did I tell you it is the biggest in the country? Of course, I think I did. In fact, it was declared full to the brim 20 years ago. And the weirdest part of it is that hundreds of burials are held there every day. And so you can imagine how the situation is right there. So if I get some time, I'll be taking you there. Oops, let me stop lying. There's no way I'm going there. But I promise I'll show you from a distance. You know, I'm a typical African. I don't know what the dead did to us. We just don't like them. Or is it fear? You tell me, but there's no way I'm going to the cemetery. So as usual, I want to take you around the neighborhood, tell you some interesting facts, the numbers, a small history, and also give you the real estate numbers. That is, how much is the monthly rent? And if you want to buy a bungalow, how much? So I have all that data with me. So make sure you watch until the end. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Village to Town TV. A channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Well, back to the video, and welcome to Langata. The youths call it LA, while for us old-timers, we just refer to it depending on where I come from. Like for instance, I know someone who will call it Rangata. Of course, you know yourselves. I don't need to call names here. But on a serious note, shout out to all my Murima people. I see you. Anyways, Langata is just a small neighborhood of 21,635 people, 7,053 households, and a population density of 682 people living in a square kilometer. So to get you to the right perspective so that you can understand where you're coming from, the average population density for the city of Nairobi is 6,750 people per square kilometer. And so you can see that it is 10 folds more than the average population density for the Langata estate, which I just told you it is just 682 people per square kilometer. And with that, I'm sure you all can agree with me that this is a rich neighborhood. In terms of gender distribution, Langata is a place of men. There are 11,582, while women are only 10,061. So in simple percentage, it means that men are 53.5% of the aggregate population, while their female counterparts are 46.5%. Well, that's a bit weird. It is the first neighborhood within Nairobi to have more men than women. Well, it seems like the estate shopping center is around this place. There's a lot of people. And being on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, I think that also enhances the numbers. You know, in Kenya, Sundays are the best part of the weekend. Most people don't work. They just go to church in the morning and have some good family times in the evening. It's a busy part of the neighborhood, I tell you. But the road is not that nice. It's a bit shaky. I've also noted that most shops are closed. I don't know why. Probably it is because it is on a Sunday. I also noted that there's a lot of tuk-tuks carrying water jerry cans. Like you see that one on my right. There's another one. And another one. And another one. Well, it seems like water vending is a big business here. And that tells you one thing. That water scarcity is a real problem here. Well, the neighborhood is only 11 kilometers from the city center, meaning that it is right within the vicinity. And despite the dead and the living, there are other interesting groups that calls Langata home. Like for instance, it is home to the Giraffe Center, and as the name suggests, it is a wildlife conservation facility that specializes in giraffes. It is quite a unique park, which I'm told it was established to protect one of the most vulnerable giraffe species. The species is called the Rothschild giraffe, and it is only found in East Africa. The neighborhood is also home to the famous Nairobi National Park, also quite a unique one. It is the only national park in a city. And so they say that Nairobi is the only city with a national park. In short, that means that Langata is the only urban neighborhood with a national park. It is right opposite the neighborhood, just next to the barrack. Remember I showed you the military barracks. So it is still within the vicinity. Other interesting facilities within the neighborhood include the Bomas of Kenya. There's a carnival restaurant, which also has an adjoining garden, popular by the name Carnival Gardens. Quite popular for hosting major concerts and events. Also, before I forget, the largest private airport in Kenya, which goes by the name the Wilson Airport, is in Langata. Of course, if you watch the video until the end, you'll have an opportunity to see the airport. I'll pass by there as I leave town. If you're following keenly, I'm sure I've noted that there are no story buildings in the neighborhood. Okay, there might be some few, maybe one-story buildings, but they are not all buildings here. And that is because it is a planned neighborhood with bungalows that look almost the same. In short, the entire neighborhood consists of many smaller housing developments, which we can refer as estates. Of course, each was built in different times by different organizations, but they look almost the same. Of course, they are gated communities, and they include estates like Otiende, Southlands, Gay, Jambo Estate. There's another one that goes by the name Onyonka, which is actually a Kisii name. Don't ask me how I know that. There's another one called Madaraka, Kachprant, Rubia, another male's name, probably from the Kikuyu community, Sun Valley, Royal Park, and many others. So most of these developments are primarily masonets or apartments blocks. So I want to check the real estate segment real quick as I drive northward. You can see more beautiful houses, although most are gated communities. I can see higher fences almost everywhere. And so quite unfortunate, you can't easily see the compounds. But that's a Kenyan culture. Most people prefer fencing their compounds. And this is regardless of whether they are poor or rich, whether in urban centers or in the village. For instance, if you go deep in the rural Kenya, in most of the villages, let's say in Nyandarua County, somewhere like Kakamega, Kisumu, you will find that even the poor have really nice fences. So as usual, before getting here, I checked the rental prices. The place is a bit expensive, although I was not surprised. Or what do you expect to pay in such a nice place? This is a gated estate, you can all see. So I saw a 3-bedroom apartment going for 55,000 Kenya shillings a month. I saw another 3-bedroom masonette going for 60,000 Kenya shillings. I saw a 2-bedroom going for 30,000 Kenya shillings. And I saw another one, 2-bedroom, going for 35,000 Kenya shillings. And so you can guess the range. and a 1-bedroom going for 20,000 Kenya shillings a month only. So if you take a look across the road, the major road you see down there, that area is the famous Langata Cemetery. I want to turn around. I don't want to go further that way. I can see a lot of tourist vehicles in this car wash. I told you Nairobi National Park is not far away from here. It is just in the neighborhood. So you know what to expect. So if I continued that way, definitely I could be hitting the biggest cemetery in the city. But I know most of you, especially those with African roots, are not quite comfortable with that topic. But remember, the cemetery is another form of real estate in Nairobi. The county government is making a kill out of it. And remember, it is already full, but the government is still selling graves. Quite expensive. In fact, some brave people buy them while they're still alive. For instance, the official prices for a permanent grave goes for 30,500 for an adult, 15,500 for an infant, and 22,500 for kids between 1 and 15 years. I told you it's a form of real estate. In the city, people make money out of everything. Even when you are deep in sorrows, someone is out there trying to make money out of you. But it's life. There's nothing you can do about it. Can I surprise you? I'm told that there are even preachers for hire in the cemetery. And so they will just wander around with a Bible, looking for families that do not have priests to conduct the ceremony. And so they will just approach you, ask for a certain amount of money straight to your face, and do their thing. Pray, preach, and the actual burial. And the funny thing is, the length of the service depends on the amount you pay. For instance, you don't pay 500 and expect long prayers. Everything will be made short. Where I'm from, they say, you just can't be an unbeliever, lack a personal priest, and be broke at the same time. At least you have to choose one struggle. Anyways, pun intended. Let's check the real estate segment, particularly for the living. And as usual, I checked houses for sale here in Langata. There were quite many beautiful masonets in these gated communities. And of course, they were priced differently depending on various factors: the location, size, age. Some masonets are pretty old, while others are new. For instance, I saw a 4-bedroom masonet going for 22 million Kenya shillings. Another 4-bedroom going for 24 million. Another 5-bedroom townhouse going for 35 million Kenya shillings. A 4-bedroom going for 26 million. I'm sure you can get the average. A 3-bedroom in Southland, Langata, going for 15 million Kenya shillings. Another 3-bedroom in Madaraka Estate, right here in Langata, going for 12 million Kenya shillings. And a 2-bedroom going for 10 million Kenya shillings. So the primary reason for giving you all this is just to give you the average. I just want you to get the concept so that if you are a real estate buyer or you are interested in buying a house here, you'll know where to start. I'm still going around in the neighborhood, and so far so good. It's also good to know that Langata is still a constituency. So get the difference. There is Langata, the neighborhood, where we are in now, which is in Langata Constituency, which is one of the 17 constituencies in Nairobi City. So Langata, the constituency, is home to several other neighborhoods, apart from this one, which include Karen, South Sea, Nairobi West, and several others. So the constituency has a total population of 197,489 people. That was 6 years ago. You can imagine the current population with an annual population change of 1% per annum. You can do your quick maths, simple arithmetics. Well, the constituency has a total population density of 910 people per square kilometer. Regarding gender distribution, 96,698 are males, definitely the minority, while the females are 100,774, meaning they have a simple majority. So in terms of the percentage, men are 49%, while the females are 51% of the aggregate population. The number of the intersex in the constituency is a bit higher. Actually, there are 17, which is quite a number. For age distribution, the old-timers, as usual, they are quite few. So this is a trend in the city. I've noted that. So those aged 65 and above are only 5,719, which is only 2.9% of the total population. So I want to show you something about schools in Nairobi, real quick. This is one of the public primary schools in the neighborhood, and I want you to take a keen look and tell me whether or not you notice something unique. So most of the public schools in the country have a bad reputation, and mostly it's for having poor infrastructure. You know, lack of classes, no windows, overpopulation, poor sanitation. Some Kenyans even go to an extent of making fun about them, referring to them as polling stations rather than schools. But just take a look at this one of Nairobi schools. Isn't it lovely? Anyways, let me leave it at that. But please continue watching the scenic video until the end. In fact, the video won't stop until I hit the famous Nya Stadium roundabout. That is on the Langata Road and Uhuru Highway Junction, pretty close to the city. So watch until the end. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Also like the video, it's quite important, so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible. And smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you will be among the first few people to be notified. Keep the conversation going. Tell us, what do you think about Langata? The peaceful coexistence between the dead and the living. Will you consider living there? And if you come from there, drop a fact or two about your neighborhood and we'll appreciate. Thank you.